day, everyone. Today I will discuss to you the topics all about examples of the types of competition in economic. But before that, I will introduce myself. My name is Djar Dayoc from BSBE 1F. Okay, we'll start. Examples of the types of competition in economic. So, what those are types of competition in economics? Okay, we have four types of competition: the perfect competition, monopolistic competition, monopoly, and oligopoly. But first, okay, we start discuss the first types of competition in economics, the perfect competition. Perfect competition, it is a competition that there is no single firm that possesses market control in a market made up of several firms. So, in perfect competition, so it is composed of a many uh, large of firms that engaging in perfect competition. No? Also, in some cases, there are several farmers selling identical products to the market and many buyers and sellers. So, example of that agricultural products such that corn, wheat, and etc. Okay? When we say identical products, no, it is the same goods that they sell in the market. Okay, example of that is like a plant market. The plant market is a good illustration or example of perfect competition. Similar plants can be found in many greenhouses and home improvement stores. Customers will go to the competition if one shop's plant prices are too expensive. So there is no justification for a consumer to pay for a high price for a little lavender plant when they could get one more lower price at the greenhouse next door. So no, we why the customers pay for a high price, no, of a lavender plant that uh, they can see, or they can what do you call this, makita niya sa in the other greenhouses or improvement stores and have a lower prices compared to others, no. But unless the plant is unique and difficult to find, or organic and food grade, no. So the customers also refer to the quality of the product, no, and the satisfaction of this, despite of it is too expensive. So uh the must pay for that it because they satisfied for the products, no. The quality is the very important for this competition if we engaging in a world of business, no. If we have a products, if we become an entrepreneur. So okay, uh, the next is monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition, there are a lot of tiny businesses in monopolistic rivalry. There are many competitors, but each company sells slightly different product. In monopolistic competition, there is a low barrier of entry for businesses. So, example of that is such that clothing stores, restaurant, and hotels, no? Those are the types of example of monopolistic competitions, no? Okay. Example, the clothing stores, no, is a good illustration of monopolistic competition. Clothing is sold each store, resulting in competition. However, the fashion and products vary greatly. When we say vary greatly, it is refers to the quality or the fashions of the products, no, that the consumers or customers be satisfied. Vary greatly is malaki ang pagkakaiba. Vary greatly from one retailer to the next, because there are so many clothes stores to choose from. each one must consider the competition when setting prices. So the businesses or the stores, we consider that to be part of competition if they were setting prices. Okay. Another example of that is hotels, restaurants, and many more. Okay. We can go now to the third types of competition in economics, the monopoly. Monopoly only it is referred to only one company sets the pricing and supply levels for goods and services, and it enjoys complete market power, selling a unique product in the market, a firm who is the sole seller of its product, and where there are no close substitute, an unregulated monopoly has market power and can influence prices. So when we say monopoly, there is one larger company control over the market, no? They are the sole seller of its product, so they are influenced to setting different prices, no? They control the price and demand of its products. Okay. Example of that is Microsoft Corporation, Facebook, electric company if there are one electric company in your area. So it's a good example of monopoly. Also, another example is Google. So Google is a part of monopoly. Google increasingly functions as an ecosystem of interlocking monopolies. The report said because of the company's ability to tie together its search and ads business with data it collects, Google has long said it plays fairly and that its products were free to consumers promote choice and competitions. Okay. Google is all about advertising techniques and strategies of their types of business. No? Okay. Oligopoly. Oligopoly consisting of a smaller number of larger businesses in a market where there are more than two competitors but no more than a handful. Oligopoly involves only a few sellers of standardized or differentiated products. Okay, the differences between oligopoly and monopoly. Monopoly is composed of one larger company, control over the market. It is a sole sellers of their products. Compared to oligopoly, it is composed of two or more than competitors. No? Involves only a few sellers in differentiated products. Okay, example of oligopoly is auto industry company, cable television, and commercial air travel. Okay. In our present time today, the PLDT it is transformed into an oligopoly. From it starts a monopoly under the Philippine Long Distance Telephone Company or PLDT. They are now transformed into an oligopoly because there are only three major players, PLDT, Globe, and Bayantel. So when we say oligopoly, there are two more than competitors. So the PLDT, the competitors of PLDT is only Globe and Bayantel. Okay. Another example is the commercial air travel company. So the market frequently exhibits oligopolistic characteristic. Airlines employ dynamic pricing, which means their prices after on a regular basis. Airline fares might fluctuate many times each day. Okay. And another example and a good illustration about oligopoly is the auto manufacturing industry. So with the leading auto manufacturers in the United States being Ford, GM, and Stellantis, the new iteration of Charleston through mergers worldwide, there are perhaps a dozen key automakers including Toyota, Honda, Volkswagen Group, and Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi. Okay. Okay. What does the competition in economic affect a business? Okay. There are two different ways that affect a business in about of competition in economics, no? There are two types. It's all about in a good side and a bad side. Okay, in a good side, this is referred to the advantages. So the advantages is one of the most fundamental advantages of competition is that it encourages innovation. When we say encourages innovation, it is produced or it is new process which domain a product or service is renewed and brought up to date by applying new processes, introducing new techniques, or establish successful ideas to create new value. The creation of value is defining characteristics of innovation. The new techniques or new ideas that can be produced, that is innovation. Also, competition among businesses can lead to the development of new or improved products as well as more efficient operations. Consumer gain from new and better products, and innovation contributes to the economic growth and higher living standards. So those are the advantages of competition in economics into a business. But there's have a opposite side. If they have advantages, they have also a disadvantages. So disadvantages is competitions reduces your market share and customer base, particularly if demand for your products or services is initially low. In order to stay competitive, a competitive market may compel you to decrease your prices, lowering your return on each item you make and sell. So those are the disadvantages of competition in economics into a business. Okay. What is the purpose of competition in economics? When business compete, consumers benefit from the best prices, quantity, and quality of goods and services. Antitrust laws encourages businesses to compete in order to benefit both consumers and enterprises. One of the most fundamental advantages of competition is that it encourages innovation. So, no? Balik na po siya. The word that we specific earlier, encourages innovation, no? Is a composed of is a produce of new techniques and new products, no, into a business rivalry. Okay. The purpose of competing, the true reason why we compete, because competitions brings out the very best in each other. Competing brings innovation, new levels of insight, and moment of great individual and collective accomplishment when business compete. So no, the competition is have benefits both consumers and producers, no. Also, competitions contributes to the economy. It produce more jobs to the economic. Okay? The benefits of competition, as in sport, competition is an incentive for companies to excel, thereby fostering innovation, diversity of supply, and attractive prices for consumers and businesses alike. Competition thus stimulates growth and generates substantial benefits for the community. Okay? If more competition means greater choice and more services. So if more competition, so daghan siya, it can build a new or a more larger, greater choices and more service offered to the society, both consumers and both producers. Okay. So I hope you have learned about these topics. You can evaluate now what is the purpose of competition in economics, then what are the example of types of competition in economics, and also what those are effects of the competition in economics into a business. Okay. Have a good day to each and everyone, and God bless. Thank you.
Before I will give some example of oligopoly, can I ask what is oligopoly? Okay. Oligopoly is a market form wherein a market or industry is dominated by a small group of large seller, or it's called oligopolist. This oligopoly has a small firms, but none of which can keep the others from having significant influence. So we're going to go back for my example. These are what we called oligopoly examples. The steel manufacturing, the oil, railroads, grocery stores, airlines, and pharmaceuticals. There is a lot of oligopoly here in the world, and it's include also the soft drink company, the Coca-Cola and the Pepsi. So these are example of those small firms. To dominate soft drink market, they can have choice to set their prices high or low. An oligopoly has a characteristic, and it has four own characteristic, and these are: number one is few seller. This few seller is just several seller who control all or most of sales in industry. The second one is barrier to entry. It is difficult to enter an oligopoly industry and compete as a small startup company. The number three is interdependence. Since new firms hold significant share in the total output of industry, each firm is affected by the price and output decision of rival firms. Firms takes into the actions and reactions of its competing firms while determining its price and output levels. And the last one is prevalent advertising. Oligopoly advertising use advertising in the main competitive mechanism. Oligopolistic firms have more to gain from advertising, unlike monopolistic, they just use advertising in generating awareness and not by increasing market share. So oligopoly take the chance about advertising. We are tackling many topics of oligopoly, but many of us wondered why oligopoly is in economic. Why is oligopoly applied in economic? And lastly is, who is invented oligopoly? As I research, Antoine Augustin Carnot, I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but this man is a French economist and mathematician. He is the first economist who competent knowledge of both subjects endeavored to apply mathematics to the treatment of economics. Carnot competition is an economic model in which competing firms a quantity to produce independently. He is the first economist define and draw a demand curve to illustrate the relationship between the price of and demand for giving item. The simplest type of oligopoly, using the mathematical function and graphing supply and demand as a function of price, is recognized as fundamental in econometrics, a field that provides vital information for economic forecasting on the level of individual business as well as for national economics. In demonstrating the equilibrium of his oligopoly game, Carnot introduced a form of best replay dynamics, in which firms select the quantity that maximizes its profit in response to the total industry output of the previous period.
Good day, everyone. My topic is all about oligopoly. What is oligopoly? Oligopoly is a market structure with a small number of firms, none of which can keep the other from having significant influence. The concentration ratio measures the market share of the largest firms. Oligopoly is derived from the Greek word oligo. It means few, and polo, which means to sell. Six characteristics of oligopoly. First is only few sellers, and second is homogeneous and differentiated products, and the third one is imperfect knowledge, and the fourth is high barrier to entry, and the fifth is mutual dependence, and the last one is non-price competition. Types of oligopoly. The first one is pure or perfect oligopoly. In the terms of produce homogeneous product. When you say homogeneous, it says a product that's essentially the same physical characteristic and quality as similar product from other supplier, kung saan parehas-parehas lang sila ng product pero iba-iba ng brand kumbaga. It's rare to find a pure oligopoly situation. Example is cement, steel, aluminum, and chemical producing industry. And the second is imperfect or different oligopoly. This is the opposite of the pure. This is imperfect. The firms of produce a different product. This is called different or imperfect oligopoly. Mga example dyan is mga sasakyan, mga pantawirang sasakyan, kaya mga sigarilyo, soft drinks, nandyan. Kumbaga, dun sa una is same lang sila, dito is magkakaiba sila. Diba? The third one is open oligopoly. An open oligopoly provides full freedom to new firms to enter into the industry. Ito yung mga makadali ka lang makapasok sa negosyo na to. Kumbaga, walang kailangan ng mga kuskus balungos, mga example nito yung mga vendors. Kailangan mo pwede ka makabenta kahit kailan, kahit anong gusto mo, walang mag-aano sa'yo. Sa mga vendors, sa mga bus, gano'n, hindi nila kailangan ng mga requirements, kailangan ng mga business permit, gano'n. Is kung porsigido ka lang, gano'n. The fourth is exclusive oligopoly. In these firms, cooperation with each other determine price or output are both. Example dito yung gas, 'di ba? Parehas tayo may pinapalabas sa TV Patrol kung tataas ba yung presyo o bababa na ba yung presyo ng gas. Para ayun, ibig sabihin para iwas sila sa competition. That's why we call collusive oligopoly. And we go to the fifth is called non-collusive oligopoly. In these firms, in a oligopoly market compete with each other. So, twist ulit siya ng collusive. Ito, nandito yung puno na ng pagkukompetensya, katulad ng papasok ka sa mga isdaan. Madaming magsasabi agad sa iyo na, sir, dito yung papasok sa kung paano sila gagamit sila ng strategy na kanilang gagamitin para maakit ka talaga, para makabili ka talaga ng mga product nila. The last one is closed oligopoly. Kung kanina, binanggit ko sa inyo yung open oligopoly. Ito naman yung kanyang kabaliktaran. Ang closed oligopoly, it refers to the market structures where only a few control the market and new firms are not allowed to enter in industry. Kailangan dito yung mga license, mga requirements. Hindi ka basta agad makakapasok, like large capital. Kailangan mo ng malalaking capital, gano'n. Katulad ng mga Toyota, hindi ka basta-basta makakabenta ng mga sasakyan o kung wala kang mga license, gano'n. Hindi ka pwede magbenta agad ng maraming sasakyan para makapasok din dyan ng industry. And this is the barriers to entry. The first is, before that, the barriers, kung magsasabi tayo ng barriers, ito yung mga pader, manghadlang sa pagpasok dito, di ba? The first is access to suppliers and distributors. The second is cost of entering a market. Third is legal requirements. Kumbaga, kailangan pa ng maraming requirements bago ka makapasok dito sa negosyo. Fourth is legal restriction, and fourth is fear of retaliation. And this is the example of oligopoly. The first is smartphone and operating system of smartphone. So, makikita natin kahit iba-iba tayo ng cellphone like Android, iOS, or Microsoft, na meron din diyang sa Microsoft, sa Android, may Google Play Store, may camera, 'di ba? May gano'n din sa iPhone. Meron din sila Google Play Store, camera, at etc. This is a global market share helped by leading smartphone iOS 2016. Kung makikita natin sa bilog o pie, mas marami talaga yung gumagamit ng Android. Kaya sa mga iPhone, sa Microsoft. So dito natin makikita kung ilan ba yung gumagamit sa atin dito ng mga Androids or mga ano-ano bang phone dyan. The second example is the computer operating system. Meron dyang iba-iba ding brand like MacBook, Microsoft, and Linux operating system. Iba-iba sila. The third is music industry. The music entertainment industry is dominated by 4 music companies. There are Universal, 35.1%, and Sony is 22.8%, and Warner is 21.1%, and other music industry is 21%. It represents the what we are used. The fourth example in oligopoly is soft drinks industry. They are mutual and strategically interdependent as decisions made by one firm invariably effective in others. They are selling the homogeneous product so they can control over price. So there are many kind of soft drinks like the first one is Coca-Cola. The second is Pepsi and others. They are same soda but they are different brand of soft drinks. This is a disadvantage of oligopoly. The first is high concentration reduce customer choices. So nandito na yung marami na yung mga brand ng isang product. Lilito na tayo kung ano yung pipiliin natin. And the second is cartel-like behavior reduce competition and can lead to the higher price and reduce output. Example dyan is iPhone 4 and iPhone 13 iPhone 13. Mahal siya, sobrang expensive niya. No? Tapos marami pa rin yung naghahabol sa kanya. Hindi niya kailangan ng competition, yun talaga yun sa kanya eh. So, marami maghahabol kasi nga iPhone siya, tapos sobrang ganda ng quality. The third one is give the lack of competition, oligopolies may be free to engage the manipulation of consumer decision making. So, kung ano yung nandyan sa atin, kumbaga, wala lang kung ano yung nandyan, yun na lang yung bibili natin kasi yan lang yung nandyan. Malayo yung, hindi tayo makakapili ng sakto. Kumbaga, sa iba, mapipilitan ka na lang bumili kasi yan lang yung nandyan. Katulad na sa tindahan nyo. Diba? Konti lang yung mga brand ng mga product, hindi talaga sa madami. So, kunti lang talaga yung pagpipilian mo. So, mapipilitan ka lang bumili ng mga mumurahin o kaya yung kahit hindi mo gusto, mapipilitan ka na lang. And that's all. Thank you for listening.
Monopoly is the situation of market in which there is a single seller of product, where there are no close substitute. An unregulated monopoly has a market power and can influence prices. And there are examples of monopoly. The example of monopoly are the railways, Luxitica, Microsoft, ABNB, Google, patents, AT&T, and Facebook. Public services like the railway are provided by the government. Hence, there are a monopolist that sends the new partners of privately held companies are allowed to run railways. Microsoft and Windows. It is commonly referred as Windows, is a group of several proprietary graphical operating system family, all of which are developed and marketed by Microsoft. Each family caters to a certain sector of the computing industry. And another example is the De Beers and Diamonds. De Beers Group is an international corporation that specializes in diamond mining, diamond exploitation, diamond retail, diamond trading, and industrial diamond manufacturing sector. And another example is the local natural gas company. The natural gas company provide or purchase an actual commodity. The four characteristics of monopoly. Number one characteristic is a single firm selling all output in a market. The number two is a unique product. And the number three is the restrictions on entry into and exit out of the industry and more often than not. And the last is the specialized information. A single firm selling is under monopoly. There is a single producer of commodity. There is no distinction between firm and industry. Barriers to entry. There are many barriers or restrictions on the entry of another firms into market. Some of the barriers to entry are the government license, patents, and copyright. Unique product. To be only one seller of a product, a monopoly has its own unique product. The specialized information. The specialized information often comes in a form of legally established patents, copyrights, or trademarks. The disadvantages of monopoly to the customer. The number one disadvantages is the restricting output into the market. The number two are the charging a higher price than in a more competitive market. And number three is reducing consumer surplus and economic welfare. Number four is the restricting choice of customer. And the last is reducing customer sovereignty.
Good day, sir. I'm Legendary Coritana. I'm here to report about monopoly. Is monopoly good or bad? Monopoly may be good or it may be bad, in the sense that human behavior may be good or bad, according to whatever ethical standard we use to measure moral action. The term monopoly, however, has taken on bad connotation to the point where goodness is rarely, if ever, associated with it. As this behavior, we are always thought as misbehavior. What are the causes of monopoly in economics? There are multiple causes of monopolies. Although you can come up with many, all would eat under one of this category, natural monopoly. This is the case when the marginal cost is low or fixed cost is high, because economics of scale achieve. Whoever has higher production can lower prices with higher profit until every competitor goes out of business. Same thing can be achieved if the barrier to entry is too high. This is the case when there is a patent that protects someone from purchasing the same product, or when a government sells the right to, for example, transmit on a specific bandwidth, or only one government-run store can sell alcohol, etc. Consolidation, when companies merge to form a larger one to avoid competing against each other. Antitrust regulation usually exists to block this kind of merge. Overall efficiency through this is similar to one difference simply because duplicating would be idiotic to, for example, electrical grid having a two set of electrical guide that connect every house would be stupid, expensive, and efficiency many public good fall into this category. We have 7 causes of monopolies. First, high cost competition. One cause of natural monopolies are barriers to entry. This is usually as a result of high cost, with railroads being a well-known example. Second, potential profits are attractive competitors. Potential profits are update indicators. Potential business of monopolies are making small profits. It is not worth a competitor's time and money to try and take a small shares of the market. Third, ownership of a key resource. Monopoly can arise when one business of a 1K resource, there are generally physical resource such as diamonds. For example, if there is only one diamonds mine in the country, that business that owns in will be able to achieve a monopoly. This is how big bears control the diamonds industry throughout the 20th century. Fourth, patent. Another cause of monopolies is when the government grants a patent to business. This is a form of intellectual property that gives the owner the legal right to be a sole producer of product. Fifth, restriction in imports. Imports quotas, tariff, and other trade restriction can limit competition, be a cost of monopoly if cheaper for foreign competition is to enter the market. There are fewer pressure of domestic companies. Sixth, baby market. Another cause of monopolies occurs a new baby market during the efficiency of a market that first entrant will be able to establish in initial monopoly position. This is because they are the first company in the market without competition. Seventh is a geographic market. Geographic monopolies can be characterized by the sole presence in a local market. For example, there are many only be one restaurant in the local town. If you want a meal out, you may have to travel half an hour to the nearest restaurant. When considering the local market, it can be considered as a monopoly. That's all. Thank you.
Everyone, good morning, sir. My name is Welbert Suarez. Our topic for this morning is about what is monopoly. Monopoly is the situation of market in which there is one single seller of product. For example, there is only one firm dealing in the sale of cooking gas in a particular town. Hence, monopoly is a market situation in which there is only one producer of a commodity. A monopoly is a firm who is the sole seller of its product, and where there are no close substitutes. An unregulated monopoly has market power and can influence prices. So a monopoly is just one supplier, no competition. Monopolies controls price and very hard to enter the market. These are examples of monopoly: railways. Number 2, Laksatica, Microsoft, ABNB, Google, patents, AT&T, and Facebook. This is examples of monopoly. Examples number 1 of monopoly is railways. A monopoly examples number 1, railways public service, like the railways are provided by the government. Hence, they are monopolies in the sense that new partners or privately held companies are not allowed to run railways. A characteristics of monopoly is companies, country, concern of products, and a monopoly market is characterized by the profit maximizer, price maker, high barriers to entry, single seller, and price discrimination. A monopoly characteristics include profit maximizer, price maker, high barriers to entry, single seller, and price discrimination. So this is our 4 characteristics of monopoly. Number 1 characteristics of monopoly is a single firm selling all output in a market. Number 2, a unique product. Number 3, restrictions on entry into and exit out of the industry, and more often than not. Number 4, specialized information about the production techniques unbelievable to other potential producers. This is a 4 characteristics of monopoly. Monopoly is typically unregulated due to barriers that prevent other companies from entering the market and giving the monopolist some competition on ownership of the key resource. When company exerts sole control over a source that is necessary for the production of a specific product, the market may become a monopoly. Thank you, sir.